Welcome back to the Beyond You podcast, the space where Black and Brown women come to move from survival mode into a grounded soft life. But if you're here and you're a Black woman, you're welcome as well. Just good information to be able to have and make sure to specialize in helping the people who don't always get seen. And so I'm Samantha Saunders, LPC, an expert in relationship trauma, and be able to helping you to build healthy and nourishing and authentic connections with yourself and other people, especially after difficult or toxic relationships. So today's episode is a little bit of a confession, a case study that I did. And I decided to doing something that so many of us are conditioned to do, over explaining my boundaries. So for 30 days, I practiced saying no on setting limits without the long essay, the three backup reasons, the guilt soaked paragraph that we sometimes tend to do. In this episode, I'm going to tell you exactly what that looked like, what was hard, what surprised me, and how it changed my sense of soft life that many of us tend to say. So, if you've ever said no and then immediately followed it with a whole TED talk about why you're allowed to have a need, this one is for you.
Welcome to the Beyond You podcast, where we have real conversations about healing, trusting yourself again, and building the kind of relationships that actually feel good. I'm Samantha, and if you've ever felt like you're just going through the motions, like you're doing all the right things but still feeling disconnected, you're in the right place. Because here we go beyond the surface, beyond the hurt, beyond the patterns that keep you stuck. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get into it.
If you're listening on audio, go ahead and follow the show because we are dropping episodes every Wednesday. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit subscribe and comment, right? That no is a full sentence. I want to be able to see on who's here, who's in our community. So I know you're part of this experiment too. And I think it's a good thing for everybody to try, but tell you my results first. So the problem, right? The issue on why just as a global majority, that women and just Black women in general, we tend to overexplain our boundaries. And if you resonate this, that's great too. But let's start with the why. This isn't even a thing. So if you're a Black or brown woman, especially professional, or the responsible one, understand that in your circle, you're probably not taught that your no is enough by itself. You might have been taught I mean, a lot of things that we say all the time, right? To be grateful for every opportunity, even when it drains you, to keep the peace, not rock the boat, to take care of everyone else's feelings, even at your own expense. It might not be said directly, but it's definitely implied. So when you finally do say no, it might sound like this. I'm so sorry. It's just that blank. I would love to, but instantly add more to it. I would love to, but I have this thing and that thing, and I really wish I could. Like they give a lot of different explanations. Or something, I don't want you to think I don't care. It's just, do you see I'm like over explaining a lot of this? Underneath all that explaining are a few key theories that we tend to miss. If I don't explain enough, they'll think I'm selfish, right? Or if they're disappointed, I must have done something wrong. Or if I don't justify this, they might leave me, judge me, or punish me. And as a therapist, I see that pattern all the time in folks who've grown up in chaotic or critical homes, in people pleasing dynamics, or in especially, let me say that, in relationships where love felt conditional. So over explaining becomes a survival skill. But when you're trying to build a soft life, over explaining your boundaries turns into another form of emotional labor. You finally said no, but what does it come with? But now you're doing PR for your no, right? You're working twice. So I wanted to see what happens if I don't do that? What happens if I just if I trust that my boundary is valid, even if the other person doesn't fully understand it. Let's get into the 30-day experiment setup. Let me walk you through exactly what I did so that if you want, you can try some version of this for yourself. First, I made a rule. Okay. For 30 days, if I needed to set a boundary at work, with family, with friends, with people I work with just clients or social invitations, I would keep my exclamation to one simple sentence, max two. No long paragraphs, no oversharing, no talking myself in circles. I also set some guidelines. I would still communicate with kindness. That wasn't about being harsh or cold. Also, I would tell the truth, but I wouldn't give more detail than needed. If someone pushed back, I would repeat my boundary calmly, not over escalate into over explaining. So I would love to kind of get examples on what I actually use to see if you want to add this to your challenge. I don't have the capacity to take that on right now. Number two, that doesn't work for me, but I hope it goes well. Number three, I'm not available for that, but thank you for thinking of me. Another one you could use, that's not something I'm comfortable discussing. Right? I also decided ahead of time what this experiment wasn't. And sometimes we just need that to kind of really set those guidelines there. It wasn't about punishing people or stonewalling. Like, that is not the intention. And it really, that does matter, the intention. It wasn't about never compromising or never being flexible. It was about noticing what happens to me, just what happens in me when I stop trying to manage everyone else's emotions or reactions. But I want to be transparent. I'm a therapist, but I'm also human first. And I felt nervous about this. There were moments where my inner people pleaser was like, girl, say more. They're going to be mad at you. They're going to think you're selfish. I mean, it was all playing in my head, but that's what made it such a powerful experiment. Like, I had to sit there and deal with the thoughts and emotions that came up. And it's going to be sitting in some uncomfortable stuff and then respond immediately. So let me kind of get into what happened in the first week. In the first week, the loudest reactions actually weren't from other people. It was from my own nervous system. I'd send short, clear message like, I don't have the capacity to take that on right now. And immediately my brain would start, that sounded too blunt, right? They're going to think you don't care. You should send a follow-up explaining more. When I tell you, my heart would pick up. I feel that little ball of anxiety in my stomach. But here's what actually happened. Most people responded with some version of totally understand, no worries, or just didn't make it a big deal at all. The emergency was in me, not in the situation. I realized how many imaginary arguments I had been having in my head, and like how much like energy was going toward rehearsing explanations, defending myself to people who couldn't even have said yet. There were a couple of moments where someone did push a little. Right? So I'm not gonna feel like it was all like everyone was just okay with this. They would say comments that weren't like direct, but just really subtle, like, "Are you sure it won't take that long?" Or, "Can you just squeeze it in?" And instead of going into a long story, I stuck to a simple repeat at the boundary. I hear you, and I still don't have the capacity for that right now. And that was uncomfortable. My inner fixer, and that inner fixer loves to be able to try to fix something, right? My inner fixer wanted to make me feel better. right? But I survived that discomfort. Right? And I tell you a lot about this in the sessions and other therapists I work with as well. But I survived in that discomfort, and so did the relationship. So the results and what changed after the 30 days. By the end of the 30 days, a few things had shifted that I did not expect. One, my energy came back in small but meaningful ways because I wasn't spending just as much time crafting explanations, trying to see what the person was thinking in the other person's mind, mentally rehearsing, right, conversations or replaying every text I sent. I had more mental space. I had more energy for the things I actually wanted to do. Reading, resting, being creative, being present in my sessions and in my life. It was a good feeling. It was. My relationships got clearer. Some people just adjusted easily. They might have been more flexible than I give them credit for. And I can admit that. And they didn't need the essays. That was my habit, not their experiment. Right? There were one or two relationships where my shorter boundaries brought a little bit of tension to the surface, right? But those were people who were used to me stretching, overgiving, or prioritizing their comfort first. So seeing that clearly was painful, but also clarifying. It showed me where the relationship was balanced and where it was just built on my overfunctioning. I trusted myself more. One of the biggest shifts was internal. Like I started to believe at a deeper level that my limits are real and valid, even if someone was uncomfortable with them or they don't fully understand them, even if they're disappointed, that was okay. Like I had to be able to realize that I can manage people's emotions. And that's what I tell you guys all the time. So instead of thinking if they're upset, I must have done something wrong, try to shift my thinking. I could think I can be kind and still say no, right? Their feelings are theirs to manage. You can't think back their feelings. Understand that that is just that soft life energy. Like I want you to be able to use your energy so wisely. You hear me say this all the time. I don't want you to be cold or it's not selfish or cold or I just want you to be rooted. Also, what I realized is my nervous system calmed down around conflict. By not automatically sliding into over explaining, I had to sit with other people's discomfort. And over time, my body learned I can survive someone being disappointed. I can survive someone not agreeing with me. I can survive a moment of awkwardness. That's huge if you come from a background where conflict meant danger, punishment, or emotional withdrawal. And I know for some people, sitting in discomfort feels like a lot, but that's what we work on, right? Within the sessions, or we have to work on you being able to sit and being uncomfortable, right? So, what this means for soft life and healthy relationships. So, what does all this have to do with soft life and healthy relationships, right? That's a question that I sometimes get that accent probably you might be asking, or maybe I'm just kind of bringing it to you. But soft life is not about never having boundaries. It's about having boundaries that are clear, gentle, and honored. So when it comes to authentic relationships, are not built on you constantly over explaining yourself. They're built on mutual respect for each other's limits. Okay. Also, an ability to hear and know without making it a personal attack. Next, you being able to show up as your full self, not just a version of you that says yes to everything. Understand when you stop over explaining, these are some things that happen. So you give people the chance to relate to the real you, not the overly accommodating you. Next, you stop auditioning for love, approval, or belonging. Next, you create a life that has more room for ease because you're not managing everyone's reactions as a full time job. That is soft life, not just just the bubble baths, but the boundaries that protect your peace. And we have a whole series on boundaries, and I'll make sure to put one over here that you can check out after this video. So how you can try your own version, because I want you to do something this for yourself too. If you're listening and thinking, okay, I want to try this, but 30 days feels like a lot, I've got you. Here's how you can start with a softer version of this experiment or challenge, however you want to put it. So, step one, I want you to be able to choose your time frame. Start with 7 days instead of 30, right? Do what works for you. So, for 1 week, commit to not over explaining your boundaries. Step two, I want you to pick your scripts ahead of time. Write down 2 to 3 simple boundary sentences that you can lean on. And I'll give you examples. You can use something like, I don't have the capacity for that right now, something I used earlier. You can use something like, that doesn't work for me, but thank you for thinking of me. And you can add your own as well. How about, I'm not available for that. I know these can sound harsh at first, but having scripts can definitely be able to help, right? It's a challenge. So keep them in your notes app so you're not scrambling in the moment when something comes up. Step three, I want you to expect discomfort. Your body is used to over explaining as a way to feel safe. When you don't do it, your anxiety might spike up. It might spike at first. That doesn't mean you're wrong, though. It just means you're doing something new and different. Step four, I want you to reflect, and I don't want you to rush. At the end of the week, I want you to be able to ask yourself, where was this easier than I expected? And where was it harder? Also, who surprised me by respecting my boundaries? Because sometimes there's a couple people I was just really surprised about. So, also, who reacted in ways that gave me more data about our relationship? Use that information not to shame yourself, but to clarify where soft life is welcome and where some deeper work might be needed. So, this is really how I just handled my 30-day experiment. I want to be here about yours, what you're willing to try. I want to just be able to close this by speaking directly to the part of you that feels like you have to earn your boundaries. Of course, that's not true. Understand you're allowed to have needs. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to protect your energy. And you can do this without submitting a full report, an evidence packet every single time. If someone can only love the version of you that says yes and over explains, that's not your soft life person. Your soft life is not contingent on everyone understanding you. It's built on you understanding and honoring you. So here's your invitation, right? I want you to be able to choose your time frame, 7 days, 14 days, 30 days. You get to choose. Pick 1 or 2 boundary sentences and experiment with saying less while still being kind. You don't want to forget that part. So if you decide to try this, know that I would love you to DM me or comment I'm in and share one boundary that you're committed to holding without over explaining. I just want to add that. Oh, I am so excited that you stood to the end. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another woman who needs this, who needs to be able to practice boundaries. You see that she's not having boundaries. I need you to send this to her, because make sure you're following this podcast, right? Make sure that you like it. Tell me if you like this type of video, or sharing my personal journey and what I'm working on, and even leaving a rating or review that helps us just reach more people and we're ready for a softer life. So I'm Samantha Saunders, LPC, and I'll talk to you next week. Let's see how you do.